sure shut the door when you leave. All right, back with Conversations with Keith. We've moved from, let's see, golly, we've had county, we've had state, now we're moving to local, or city, with the mayor candidates, the 3 mayor candidates for the city of Falmouth. And then we'll have, hopefully, city council, magistrates be coming in. And I think we have 1 race for constable, so hopefully we'll be able to get them in and we'll go through the whole gamut. You'll notice we're in a different home. We've been trying to figure out how to make it a little bit less background noise during these interviews. So this was the home of Debbie Deeney for so many years.
Okay.
Her desk sitting here. I'm assuming she likes the color yellow. So, but
absolutely does.
Yeah. So Debbie, did decades, years worth of work in here, informing the public. So it's a good home for us as we try to continue on informing y'all. Sitting here with Sebastian Ernst, who is a candidate for Falmouth mayor and present city council person. And we've kind of started all these. I know you've watched them. So you graduate, what year did you graduate from Pendleton County High School?
Actually didn't graduate from Pendleton County High School. I went to Pendleton County schools all the way from my preschool all the way up to my senior year.
Okay.
And then a few months into my senior year, I actually got my own apartment up in Alexandria and finished up at Campbell County before joining the Marines.
Okay, so you joined the Marines. So after you left high school and you're in the Marines, tell us what you've done from that point on.
Okay. Well, I joined in 2011. Shipped off in January. When I first came back on boot leave, I married my high school sweetheart, Marissa Ernst, and Will Bishop, maiden name. But after that, I went off to training. I went through training for a full year almost before actually getting put in my final duty station. I was the top of my class going through school, so when I graduated, I was meritoriously promoted to Lance Corporal, and then because I was top of my class, I got to pick wherever I went, and the opportunity came up to go to HMX-1, which is the Presidential Helicopter Squadron.
Oh, cool.
Marine One. Most people know it as Marine One.
Yeah.
So anytime you see the president getting on a white top helicopter, that was a fleet that I worked at. I actually worked on a subcategory of the CH-46. It was a smaller cargo helicopter that we would use for transport.
So what would you do on the Marine One?
Well, my platform wasn't Marine One. It's a different section.
Gotcha.
When I was there, they had 4 different helicopters that they would use. They had 2 over on White side, which was the ones that the president actually flew on, and I worked over on Stake side, which is the green side, we called it.
Okay.
But no, I was a helicopter mechanic, a 6322, avionics electronics technician. Basically, if anything involved any kind of communication, navigation, electrical, generator, stuff like that, that would have problems, I would troubleshoot and fix it.
Oh, well, very, very cool. Very cool. So, stateside, I guess, the whole time?
Stateside the whole time, yeah.
Yeah.
Waco, Virginia is where I was.
All right. And so, after left the military, what have you been involved in?
Well, could have went anywhere. Came right back home. So, my wife and I decided to live in Falmouth. I always grew up here in Butler, but I always told everyone I was from Falmouth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was just, they didn't even know where that was. I could have just said, when people ask me growing up where are you from, I always said Falmouth, Kentucky. Like, where's that? It's like, I always said it Falmouth like they would know where that is. But they never did. So, but no, I wanted to come back home, and growing up, I saw a lot of the issues facing our community. As far as I've seen it from a small child all the way to an adult now. Just going over and hanging out with friends. Growing up, you see all these issues facing our city, as far as like poverty and just a lot of issues facing our community. And I always ask, what's the problem? Why isn't our city flourishing like all these other places? Why aren't we doing as good as Cynthiana or Augusta, who are in similar geographical and flood zone issues? I mean, they face the same issues we do. So I came back, I used all the money I saved up in the Marines to invest in the Smoking Pig Tavern with my mom. We got that up and going again, and we were building on that. I mean, some of the stuff you see when you're working down there for 9 months straight, we would see drug deals going right down in front of the buildings downtown. Yeah. And it amazed me that this could happen in our downtown area. And that was one of the things that I always try to tell people is the best way to get rid of those kind of individuals is to turn the lights on, expose them. Yeah. And if you get more traffic down there, if we can get downtown fixed up, I mean, you don't see that kind of stuff downtown anymore. So I came back, worked on downtown with my mom, got the Smoking Pig Tavern going, bought the movie theater with my brother. We've been slowly working on that, but we've been having some issues with, things I've talked about in the past with the state and, building code and stuff like that. But just been back here, been working at the tavern, been going to college. When I first got out, I started going to college at the Forbes School of Business for Business Administration and Accounting. So I'm getting ready to graduate from there for a few months. And
with bachelor's
degree.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Simply, question to start: what is the role of the mayor? And I guess maybe in comparison to the role of city council on a daily basis, and then at council meetings.
Well, on a daily basis, I mean, the mayor is the executive branch, so very similar to what the judge exec does for the county and what the president does for the country. They see the day-to-day operations, they ensure the budget's being spent the way council passes it. You know, they deal with appointments for, you know, appointed positions in the city, like the chief of police, the chief of the fire department, the city clerk. But they control the day-to-day operations and the direction that the city's taking. I mean, obviously, the council controls legislation and the budget that's passed, but it's on the mayor's responsibility to ensure that budget's followed and to make sure that the laws that they pass are enforced. Other than that, I mean, on a council basis, on the meetings, the mayor's really there to facilitate everyone, make sure everyone's heard, make sure the ruckus is down to a minimum. You know, if things are getting out of order, it's responsible of the mayor to make sure that that's controlled. So
in a council meeting, how active a role, since that's a legislative process, and that's the council's meetings possibly, right, the way you could look at it, how active a role in discussion, because you have a very active role now, how active of a role does the mayor supposed to have in a council meeting?
I mean, I think they should be able to voice their concerns and opinions. Obviously, they don't get to vote, but I think...
Do they get to break ties?
Ties, they do.
They break ties,
I mean,
okay.
if there's a 3-3 vote, then yes, they would break the tie.
Okay.
But they also have veto powers, too. So
they do?
That's checks and balances there, too, just like the president does.
Really?
So if council passes legislation that the mayor does not agree with, they can veto that. They have 24 hours.
So does the council then have an appeal process?
They can reappeal it. I'm not sure how that works as far as, I think it's a different percentage they need.
I was going to say, I wondered if it was like 6-0.
It's a little different. I don't want to comment on it because I don't know the exact process. It's never happened down here yet. But,
yeah.
But no, they do have that responsibility too.
Okay. All right.
So as far as being involved in the meetings, they absolutely should be. I mean, they're the leader of the city, so people should know where they stand, and if they see an issue with a problem, they need to tell them right then and there, not just wait and sit back and do nothing and let them pass legislation and say, you know, I don't like this, I'm going to veto it. You know, try to convince people.
Okay.
You know, it's better to try to convince someone than to force somebody.
Okay. All right. This was not going to be a question. And then on August 14th, Alonda Henson filed for to seek, I don't know if you call it re-election or what you call it, but to be mayor of Falmouth. So it's a question that has to be addressed because of the nature of the three candidates. So we need to start with one question on the past before we're going to move and totally look for future. So you and Ron Stinson were involved in her removal as mayor of Falmouth. Walk us briefly, because that's been talked about so much in the past, but briefly talk about why that occurred, why that needed to occur, as you all saw unanimously as a city council, and I just butchered that word.
You mean, why did we have to impeach?
Yeah, why did you feel like, because here's one of the things, because we're seeing it at the president's level now. President duly elected, Brett Kavanaugh went through the correct steps, got the votes, and we're seeing a party saying, we want to set aside what the people did by electing president and remove them from office, which is essentially what you all did, because Alonda was duly, yes.
The electoral process, absolutely.
Yeah, so
that's a huge deal. It wasn't something that was taken lightly. It was something that we had to do.
And that's the question, why?
Expenses were going up. We were getting sued for, you know, things I don't want to really comment on, harassment charges, stuff like that. Police officers coming forward and telling us that they were asked to engage in activity that they wanted no part of. And that's why we had a lot of police officers quit. People getting forced out. You know, and Gary Lay quitting was a big one too, and that made us realize how bad of a situation we are financially with the utilities, that if we had to replace him with a certified electrician and a certified water distribution license, I mean, that's 2 more positions we would have had to replace him with. I mean, electricians, they want at least over 100,000 these days for a certified electrician, and then you got your water.
And let's make sure that nobody misreads that statement, Gary does not make over $100,000.
No, absolutely not.
So you know how people will read into statements, oh, he must make. No.
He probably deserves it, absolutely, but no, that's not something we could afford. But when he left, that made us really look into the allegations as they were serious. Before, it was a lot of hearsay, people coming to like me personally outside of council meetings. It wasn't something that they came to council meetings, told us, and then we sought impeachment. This was stuff that was going on even before we were elected, that people were coming to me, telling me things I always just kind of not swept on the rug, but just I had no way of verifying what they were saying, you know. Because some people are just disgruntled, don't like their boss, I get it.
Yeah.
But after the police department started stepping forward, the chief of police came forward, and Gary Lay came forward and started telling us some of the more serious allegations and harassment charges and stuff like that, that people weren't able to do their job. We had no choice.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of it was financial too, like money being spent on things we didn't need without council approval, stuff like that. We spent like $15,000 on cameras for the water plant, all of which, there's plenty of expensive equipment out there at the water plant right over here. But the cameras weren't pointed at anything; they were pointed at people's desks. They're pointing at where their common spaces were, just so that they could watch people and how they work. I mean, I don't know. That's not how I would do it. I wouldn't waste that kind of money on something like that. But
all right, one final question on this: with her entering the race, and you two and your role, has it became this race at least partly a referendum on that decision?
Oh, absolutely. Well, at the end of the day, it's the people are going to decide.
Yeah.
You know, at this point, I think we did what we had to do in getting her out of there. I mean, again, not something I take lightly. I never even thought that would be something I would even have to push for when I got in. It was completely blindsided by that. But I was a big proponent in getting her out of there after I heard some of the allegations, and I don't tolerate that. But no, it definitely throws a wrench into the mix. But
it made it a totally different race.
Yeah, it does, absolutely. But I think that people are going to realize that the changes that have been happening these last 2 years are not a result of her or the other candidate. They're a result of a family and individuals down here that are trying to better the city. And yeah, it does. I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't know if she's going to affect either one of us individually. You know what I mean? But I don't know if she'll be pulling votes from me or votes from him or whatever. But I wish her luck. And if the people want her back in there, then they have that option.
Okay. All right. So let's move now to looking out into the future. We've looked at the past, and that's the question. What do you see as the future of Falmouth as you would look 5, 10, 15, 20 years in the future?
Well, I think the two biggest issues facing our community, and I think the majority of the people have agreed when I've been campaigning, is that we have a massive opioid epidemic down here and the lack of businesses and growth and job creation. I think one of those things will actually help with the other. I think if we focus on the businesses and getting downtown fixed up and doing more community events, more things that are going to build camaraderie amongst the citizens, that'll slowly push some of that opioid problem out, because a lot of that is, it's economical too and social. So I think if we can change the way our city operates as far as getting businesses in here and getting more public spaces getting fixed up, like parks, and downtown we have a lot of public things that aren't being used at the stage. There's a lot of things that we can change, little changes that don't cost much money, that can make a nicer environment for people to live in. We need more amenities. Our property values down here need to be going up. They shouldn't be going down. They should not be as bad as they are. Like I said, the two comparable cities that I think we should be doing as good as is Cynthia and Augusta. We saw this past year that they flood before we do. Augusta flooded this year, their business district downtown did, and Cynthia just flooded last month. We never got touched. So I mean, I know the flood is the biggest concern to most people, but it shouldn't scare them as much as it does, because we've proven that you can build a business in a flood zone downtown where everyone told us it can't happen, and it's extremely successful. So I mean, we're working on other buildings, and eventually like to get the movie theater going. My brother's got the old 3-story Mason building where he's trying to put apartments in, and again, he's having a lot of issues with the state not letting us work on our own properties. They're trying to get us we have to contract everything out to licensed individuals, and I understand that to an extent, but it's hurting our city, and we need to be working with the state. And I've been working with Mark Hart and Will Schroeder on if I win, I'm going to be pushing for some major big state legislation changes that could possibly help us out down here.
Well, that's a segues into a follow-up question. You talk about attracting businesses, and you mentioned about downtown, but we have the the old Hardee's business, the old Subway business, a prime location for business that sits empty. We have some other local businesses or some other properties that are sitting out on 27 without. What does the mayor and city council need to do in the next 5-10 years to attract businesses?
Well, first thing, when you look at tax incentives, another big thing that we haven't done since I've been on council, well, I don't know why we haven't, but is reaching out to the Economic Development Cabinet of Kentucky. I had a meeting with one of the individuals from there, and they came down and they explained to us the process of getting businesses to come in. Like, we have the industrial park just south of town. It's empty, has been for 20 years or so. That property, that site is not even registered with them as part of their like dig ready or shovel ready. Like, they have a list basically with the state. So when big companies come and they go to the Economic Development Cabinet to see what can we build, what's available, what can we do. And they have a list where they keep record of all the city-owned or county-owned properties or areas that are ready for build, and we're not even on that list.
Why are we not on that list?
They're supposed to come out and do surveys, and it's on the mayor and the council to really be reaching out to them, making these connections to get businesses in here.
I'm assuming there's some cost for them to come out and do the surveys and stuff.
No, it's a state-funded agency.
Okay.
They come out, they do the surveys, they find out, because there's different categories. There's like build ready, there's places that are already established, like different categories. And ours all meet those categories. We have sewer, we have water, we have electric, they're all ready to build. But it's just, if they don't know about them, they're not going to buy them. So if you're buying a house in an area that's not listed on Zillow or whatever, and you miss it, it's not really your fault that you missed it. It was never put on there for them to see. You know what I mean? We're not advertising those properties the way we should be. Same with the Cleve property. I really want to work with Bill Mitchell on getting some developers in here, whether it's housing or more businesses as far as restaurants. I know everyone wants a second fast food joint down here. And I would love it too. I mean, people keep telling me Hardee's again, but I want Taco Bell.
Taco Bell, yeah. David Bay, when he was rebuilding the flood, the BB's location after the flood, not rebuilding it, when he was building it, he looked at Taco Bell, and he came down to Lee's and Taco Bell.
Oh, he messed up.
Well, not from his viewpoint, because actually he's come to my marketing class and spoke on it. And the requirements at that time, we're talking in the 90s, I have no clue what they are now. The requirements on franchise owners and what he got to keep of his sales was so low compared to what Lee's family. Oh,
absolutely.
He would have been, yeah, absolutely. So he would have been financially crazy to actually put in the Taco Bell, because he wouldn't have got to keep locally as much as he does with Lee's Famous Recipe. Plus, he could go into the catering business with Lee's. People usually don't cater a lot of things with quesadillas.
That sounds like a good idea to me.
I love Taco Bell too, though. And you know what? Keaton Belcher would probably be the first. He was the first customer. He Malpin Alexander. He's a Taco Bell freak.
Really?
Oh, he's nuts about Taco Bell.
Whenever I'm up north, it's always Taco Bell. So.
I like to.
But no, yeah. I mean, we have the properties. It's just about marketing them. And this is part of my bachelor's degree I've been pursuing is marketing, entrepreneurship, startups. So I know what they're looking for. I know how to work with them and make those kind of connections to get businesses in here. So
okay.
It's really about reaching the hand out. You gotta extend your hand in order for them to grab it. So if we're not extending our hand, trying to make those connections, we'll never be on that list of build-ready sites.
You talked about problems with your personal experiences downtown. Is there anything a mayor or city council can do to help businesses in that regard that makes it more friendly to turn something, a ran down property into a vital home or business or something?
I think a lot of it, I'm not really sure what the city and the mayor can do as far as legislation, because you can't override what the state says. But it's about working with the state and working with your actual state legislators like Mark Hart and Will Schroeder, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are allowed to sponsor bills, not me. So it's getting with them and trying to change, maybe working on the state law to where you can grandfather in building owners to pull their own permits, because that's the problem. If you're not a certified electrician, you can't pull a permit to work on electric. So I mean, there's got to be something there. And again, like I said, I was an electrician in the Marines. I dealt with voltages way higher and way less than what we do within a house. I mean, I could wire a house blindfolded compared to the stuff I had to do on a helicopter. I mean, it's just a completely different level of technicality of dealing with a helicopter as dealing with 3-phase wire in a house. So I mean, it's just they won't let you do your own work. And you know, even like the Smoking Pig Tavern, all that work down there was done by me and my stepdad. But we just happen to know contractors that have those licenses that were willing to come out, get the permit, and then sign off on the work to say that was done right. Most people don't have those advantages. And that's why we were able to do it and no one else has.
And it kind of touched by what you talked about, Gary Lay, with the city. He has those certifications to do those things that you talked about.
You have to have those.
And you have to have those.
So that's why when he left, it made us realize real quick that when we lose Gary Lay, whether he moves on to something else or retires here, you know, he's not going to be here forever.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to be coming into massive costs as far as replacing him with, because right now he's not a certified electrician. He's grandfathered in with the state.
Oh, okay.
So when he's gone, we will no longer be able to use that. We have to get a certified electrician at the alignment. So again, that's a big expense that we're going to have to deal with in the next couple of years, and that's partly why I've been slowly looking at the reasoning behind why we even control some of these utilities. You know, and here in a couple of years, with these additional expenses of having to get a new electrician and somebody else for the water plant with that license, then we're going to be in the hole even more, and rates are going to have to go up even higher than they already are. And they're already scheduled to go up even more. You know, a lot of people think the race that we just did, that was it. That's not. There's going to be a lot more increases coming, especially when we get the loan for the water plant.
Actually, one of the questions I have on there, you made a nice segue. Where should be found? Where does and where should Falmouth be generating the revenue to pay for the city's business?
In the city's business.
Just the utility costs, everything, the police officers, everything that the city has to pay for. Where and how should they be generating that revenue?
Well, those are two separate funds completely. You can't use utility funds, money that's made off utility funds to prop up police departments, fire departments, your roads, your infrastructure. You can't do it. The only thing you can spend water money on, like water that's generated from the water, is the water plant. The only money you're allowed to spend the sewer money on is the sewer plant. So it's not like they're promoting themselves and our city. I've heard that's a completely inaccurate misconception that a lot of people are having down here when I've been going around campaigning. Is when I talk about utilities, they say, well, we understand you have to do it because it makes the city money. Well, that's not accurate. That's not true. It does not make the city money. If you made $1 million in utility fund, you can't spend a penny of that in the general fund. So it's not improving our city. So what's it improving? And you could say, well, they're managed properly and they're all, tip-top shape. Well, they're not. They're all falling apart. Our water is, we have a 30% water loss every month, anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 loss in water every single month. That's why we've been looking at the water project as far as doing a big-scale project to get within the agreed order with the state and fixing a lot of our line issues, because some of our lines down here are still clay pipes.
Yeah.
They're rough. They're old. They haven't been touched in 30 years, and at some point you have to ask yourself, why are we doing it? Why are we controlling these utilities? I mean, is it for control? Is it just because people think we provide a better service? I don't know. But when people say that it's making money for our city, that's not accurate. You can't make money for the city off of utilities. They can only sustain themselves. It's like with trash. People say, oh, that makes the city money. Well, actually, it doesn't make money. It loses money. And why we control it is just beyond me. We're a middleman. We have Rumpke in our backyard. Why not let them create more jobs, more economic opportunity for everyone? We pay our people starting at $11 an hour. No bonuses, no nothing. They start at 18, they do $4,000 or $5,000 sign-on bonuses. We're denying that economic growth in the city by maintaining that service. I know people think they think real short term, like, well, there's a lot of issues they're going to bring up, like the leaves and like the weight of the trucks and whether or not they can leave sticks out at the road. Things that are very trivial if you look at them. But in the bigger scheme, just same with electric. A lot of people think the electric makes the city money. It doesn't. Last year we only profited $6,000. So actually, I'm sorry, we just budgeted to profit $6,000 this year.
But that can only be spent on electric.
On electric, right. Yeah. And most people look at our electric grid, but our electric grid is also failing. There's a lot of issues with it. Same with our water, with our sewer, a lot of it's being mismanaged. Not because it's not the fault of the employees. They're doing the best they can with what they have, but they only have so much. We don't have access to the kind of funds that big utility companies have to make these kind of improvements, which is why we have to go to the government and ask for these block grants for millions of dollars, which is taxpayer dollars. These are taxpayer dollars that they're supplementing our utility fund with. So it's not even, if we were completely managing it ourselves and it paid for itself and then we were able to offer similar rates, then I wouldn't even question why we're in it. But it's not. And it's also a philosophical issue of why do we control it? Why be the middleman?
And I think that's becoming, over the last several months, one of the biggest issues of this race now what should be done with the utilities. Which ones do you think, obviously trash, you felt like it should be privatized out to Rumpke. What other ones do you think should be, yes, privatized or given very serious look at privatizing?
Well, from a principle standpoint, philosophically, I'm a libertarian, so I don't believe in the government controlling any private sector businesses. I think the government should focus on what's spent out of the general fund, and if they can't manage that, then don't be moving on to other stuff. You know, if we were controlling just the general fund down here, which is the police department, the fire department, city hall, the mayor council pay, all that, if we had that squared away and our city was clean, the drugs were gone, then we could probably try to branch out to other things. But unless we can take care of our core responsibilities first, we don't need to be doing any of them. Mm-hmm. But the two that really need to go is trash, because it's losing massive money every year. I mean, most people, they'll pick out 1 year where we made $1,600 and say, look, it's profiting. Well, you got to do the full 10 years. You got to find out, you know, you wouldn't just check 1 year to make sure it's doing. You want to look at every year. You want to see a timeline. You know, you want to do a 10-year period. How much money do we lose over 10 years? And that's where we're losing big time. Like next year, I keep trying to tell people, you're like, oh, we have this money to buy the truck. Well, that expense has never been included on those reports. So next year, when they include that $140,000 expense or whatever they just spent on that truck, which is insane, that's going to show next year in the hole. So yeah, we'll have a few years where we show that we made money, and then you're going to have 1 year where we're in the hole $140,000 with the cost of the truck. Mm-hmm. So again, from an accounting standpoint, they say we're making money, but from everything I've ever learned on running a business and starting businesses and going to school, that's not how you do it. It's not right. So trash has got to go. And then the only other one right now, I wouldn't want to go after water and sewer, just because that's not a process where we have middleman. We're not buying it from somebody, marking it up, and then selling it to the people.
Well, electric we are.
Electric we are.
Yes, yes,
water and sewer.
Yeah, okay,
water and sewer, I think, is manageable because we control the whole process from start to finish. We pull the water from the river, we treat it, we distribute it, we bill for it, and we treat the sewer wastewater, put it back into the river. Not one part of that process is outsourced to anybody. Okay. So we control all of it. So as far as making money to take care of itself, that's the one that we're able to do the most, because again, there's no middleman there. Electric, we buy it from KU, we mark it up, sell it to the people. So at the end of the day, I mean, people can say that it's the convenience of having the one bill, but at what cost? You know, at what cost is the city willing to combine, pay more a year just for the city to control it? Mm-hmm. You know, some people for the last 30 years or however long we've been controlling it, they seem to think it's more reasonable to have the single bill than to have the cheaper rates independently.
Well, and I think the other aspect that is beneficial with Gary being here or having a certified electrician, when my electric goes out, it goes out in a large area and Owen County has to come in and handle it. In a lot of cases, the city of Falmouth gets their issues when electric goes out fixed a lot quicker, because Gary can come in or somebody
that's true, but
and just address it immediately.
Well, that's true, but I mean, a lot bigger companies, they're able to afford more people. We like I said, we rely on one person. Mm-hmm. So and again, at what cost? Or what more are you willing to pay for your electric per month just to have it turn back on maybe an hour or two sooner than what the private company could have done?
Yeah.
And that's a hypothetical too. That's anecdotal. We don't even know if that's true. I mean, it's a lot easier to maintain a city electric grid than it is a county. It's finding the problem that's the hardest part.
That's very true.
In your county, a line breaks and you're not getting power somewhere, you have to troubleshoot the whole line to find the break. In the city, you basically just drive around and find out what happened. Yeah. There's no lines going through fields and across. Yeah. That's part of the troubleshooting concept, because I know about how troubleshooting works. As far as troubleshooting goes, it's an easier process to take care of the city. So even if we did outsource that, they're not going to be any longer than what we have now, and the people will be saving a lot of money per year. And like for instance, I don't quote me on this, but I looked at the recent reports, and I think we paid KU, I think it was around 1.75 million to buy from them. Mm-hmm. And then you find out what we're charging the people, what we're bringing around revenues, it's like 1.9. So to me, and most people think, oh, that's great, you know, it's making the city money. It's not making the city money, and the people are actually spending anywhere from $200,000 to $300,000 more combined as a community for the same service that they could get from a private company. So again, at what cost? That's $200,000 to $300,000 I see that could be spent locally on improving businesses and people going out, fixing their homes, fixing their properties. You know, people know how to spend their own money better than what we do. So I want to give them as much money as they have. I want to decrease their utility bills, and I think the best way to do that is privatizing. And most states, that wouldn't be the best answer, because most states like California, the public sector utilities are actually cheaper than private sector. But we're fortunate enough to be in one of the states like West Virginia, Ohio, Tennessee, where the private utilities are anywhere from 15 to 20% cheaper than municipality utilities. So why not take advantage of that? Why not get the cheaper electric and the cheaper water? I mean, as far as the state goes, we're already very cheap on utilities. But why not have them even cheaper?
Yeah. So electric, trash, privatize, water and sewage.
Water and sewer,
keep it
we
with
need to hang on to it.
Okay. Because you all also
but
provide...
longer term, if I would look into it. I mean, if it made sense to get rid of it, and again with the electric, people aren't thinking about just the cheaper bill, but think about selling off those assets here in the city. Our entire electric grid is owned by the city, and that's something that we could sell off. I mean, that's a large sum of money that we could either put back into our city on things we need, like parks, infrastructure upgrades, sidewalks getting fixed, roads getting leveled and paved down and milled down and getting fixed the way they should be so they're drained properly, all kinds of things. Or again, instead of having to get this big loan from the government for this water and sewer project, if we would have looked into possibly outsourcing electric and selling that off, that's the money you could use to fix it. So we don't have to take a loan. We don't have to increase your rates. Maybe we can try to manage it now and get the equipment and the stuff we need now to make it profitable. Because it's even though it's sustaining itself, it's the infrastructure itself is failing with the water and sewer. Like the water lines have to be replaced, the sewer lines got to be fixed. Our treatment plants they're not even under state requirements. That's why we have an agreed order right now. We're getting fined for that.
Okay.
So when we get this loaned, we're going to have to increase rates even more, and I'm so afraid that that's going to not only hurt people on a fixed income, but it's going to push those individuals that are living here because it makes sense financially. They're going to move away because we're going to take away that incentive why they're here in the first place.
And those are the people we want to encourage to live here, not
we want
not to
homeowners.
leave.
We want home ownership. We want younger families moving down here, and the best way to do that is to give them amenities, make them think this is a city that they're okay with their child walking outside and going down the street to the park by themselves. When I was younger, you could do that. Nowadays, I mean, it's not that long ago. What happened? So
well, and I've talked about when I was growing up. I grew up on Lock Road, which is close to Peach Grove.
right.
I would ride my bikes to Butler. I would ride my bike to Kincaid Lake State Park. You would ride your bike 10, 15 miles away.
Absolutely.
There's no way I'd let my kid do that now.
No, never. Never. I know, that's why I was a kid. I grew up on a bike. I would go down the tracks every single day down to Butler, riding around Butler, having fun. But no, nowadays I wouldn't trust my kid to do that. Absolutely not. And I have 2 little girls, so I got a 5-year-old who's in just started elementary school at Southern, and I got a 2-year-old as well. So I mean, I have children. I know what it's like to be a parent and fear your child going outside and finding a needle. We need to change that environment, and there's a lot of ways to do that, but I think the best way to do it is through business incentives and creating things that make young families want to live here. I've been going around campaigning a lot these past few months, and people that live not even a block away from the park down here, they say they can't let their kids leave the house and go down to the park when they want to, just because of the fear of them finding a needle or something happening to them. The individuals that hang out down there and sell drugs out of the parking lot. I mean, there's too many fears now. And the best way, we have to take back our city somehow, and I think the best way to do that is getting the people involved.
All right, so you mentioned increasing business and supporting business so that there's better jobs and people don't choose that life. What about the police's role in battling the drug issue and the Falmouth police? What are they doing right? What do you want to see in the future?
Well, I don't want to say I don't really have any issues with the police department as far as what they're doing. I think a lot of it has to just do with the turnover rate that we have. A lot of our police officers haven't even been here less than 2 years. I think our entire police force is under 2 years. I think Bill Gerberson might be the longest one right now. Okay. I think he's only been with us for about 2 years, so it's retainment. It's keeping police officers down here for longer than that amount of time for them to make those connections. And you throw a police officer into the city that they've never lived. They live out of county. They don't know the people. They don't know nothing. Not that they don't know nothing. They're just not familiar with the area like the people that lived here their whole life are.
There's a learning process for them as they come in.
Right. So if they're not here long enough to get through that learning curve, to learn the people, learn the houses that the drugs are coming from, because I could walk down these streets and tell you right now where I think the drugs are at, and most people would agree. I mean, I think it seems to be a house on every block that has that one, everyone knows what I'm talking about, but if you don't have a police force that knows those kinds of things, most people that have been seeing this problem for years, they're not calling the police anymore. They've given up on calling every time they see a drug dealer go down in front of their house. But we can't give up. I mean, it's going to be a fight. It's something we're going to have to fight forever. It's not something that you just fight and it's done and you never have to deal with it again. Drugs are always going to be an issue, whether you're in a multi-million-dollar neighborhood or the poorest neighborhood. Drugs are drugs, and everyone's going to have that issue. So it's just
and it's a nationwide problem.
Oh,
it's not a Falmouth.
No.
Everybody goes, "Oh, Falmouth is worse." No,
well, Falmouth,
every community.
You see it a lot worse in Falmouth because of our population. Everyone knows everyone. Mm-hmm. So in a smaller population like this, when you hear about your best friend finding a needle, it's a lot different than hearing about the neighbor that found a needle a couple weeks ago. Yeah. It's a lot more personal, and people have family members that are dying. It's not something that we can just solve overnight. It's something that's going to take a long time. How
do you retain the police officers? You said retention. How do you retain them?
Well, I think first you need to make sure that you're hiring and pulling people from the county and the city. I think we should as far as getting new police officers, I know it's a lot cheaper to find people that are already certified. Those people that are already certified are usually out of county or working for another police department because, again, why would they want to work here? They pay a lot less. It's a lot smaller community with the same kind of issues. Why wouldn't they just go work closer to their home for more money, better benefits, and they know the area? Mm-hmm. So I think retention, it's keeping people here in the community that want to be police officers that live here, people that know the area. Because I'm trying to think of her name, Heather Jolly. Mm-hmm. She lives locally, and that's great. I think that's amazing. We sent someone locally that lived here locally. Her family's here. We sent her down. She got certified. She's coming back. She loves it. We need to be doing that a lot more moving forward. I mean, right now, again, you can't really there's not a lot of really certified police officers down here to pull from. But moving forward, I'd like to see us pulling from from our high school classes, going there and trying to get people that are interested in that police department.
But isn't that hard straight out of the high school because they got to be 21? So you got that 2 or 3 year period that you kind of lose them a little bit.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of employees that work for the city that want to become police officers too.
Oh, okay.
There's people that work down here that work for maintenance or trash, and there's people that want to be police officers and that have for a long time that live here. So I think it's just a matter of reaching out to people that live locally to try to get them to become police officers.
So you're talking about in a position that having some sort of recruiting plan to look for police officers that would be locally. And have a plan in place to reach out to people.
Right, because if the police officer lives here in the city, they have a lot more vested interest in bettering the community than someone that lives 45 minutes away. And it's not their fault. I'm not saying that police officers are doing a bad job down here because they don't live here. I'm just saying there's a value there that you can't comprehend as far as when you live somewhere versus where you're just working there. Mm-hmm. They're helping their own home. The value of their house is going to go up if they do a good job. They have skin in the game. So, and that's just one thing. Again, I don't want to get too much into the police department because I think they're doing the best they can with what they have. When you give them the resources, and we need to better the communication between us and the sheriff's department. Because they have a drug task force. They're really good at that kind of stuff. And we did have some police officers here that were working on that kind of stuff for a while, but they're no longer with us. So it's just a matter of getting our ducks in a row and working with the sheriff's department because they have a lot of the equipment that we don't have. And even like a drug dog, I'd love to see a drug dog here in the city, or working with the county to get 1 or 2, just something that we have as an asset. That way we pull somebody over, we know there's drugs in their car because they just went to a house, they're out of county, they stop at a house for 5 minutes. Get the drug dog out there, sniff it. They get a hit, there you go, there's your hit.
And that's probable cause to search the car.
Oh, absolutely.
Just because you pull somebody over, you don't have probable cause to search. But that dog gets a hit, now the probable cause, and now you can search the car.
Absolutely.
If you find, and I learned that with Officer McClure's arrest, you find a certain amount of drugs in the car, now you have probable cause to go get a search warrant to go to the house.
Yeah, absolutely. And all those seized assets, anything that you see and auction off of its weapons or whatever, seized money, that's stuff that could be funding our police department. Our police department's a major expense. We're spending close to $700,000 a year on our police department. And
money well spent.
It is money well spent, but at the end of the day, you also need to look at, what are the results. A lot of people here, they don't have faith in our police department. Not because of the people, just because of past experiences. They've lived here their whole life. It's never gotten better. People they're getting upset with both. Not because they're doing a bad job. They want results. Mm-hmm. And people have lived here their whole lives and they've seen their city. I mean, I see it. It upsets me. I've lived here my whole life and I hate seeing my town fall apart. So I mean, you don't want to put the blame on the police department, but at the same time, you want results. And if you're spending that amount of money per year, you want to be damn sure that they're getting the drug dealers off the streets.
Okay.
Because that's what's killing our city. It's that and slumlords, you know, just having these properties that are so cheap and they don't come and check on them. They just rent them out to whoever, don't do no background checks, and they come down here. It's cheap. It's a lot easier to operate selling drugs than it is in the big cities. You know, it gets harder for them to operate up there where they come.
Oh,
They're
absolutely.
going to come to Falmouth.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier. It's a lot smaller. It's a lot easier to fly under the radar down here than it is in a big city. So.
Well, I know that's one of the things Officer McClure had mentioned about. They see how high a license plate, their radar goes up.
Yep.
Because that's a license plate shouldn't necessarily be here on a consistent basis.
No.
And there's questions about why.
But again, you pull them over just to, I mean, you can't really just pull someone over to question them, but if you see them doing something, suspicious activity, they stop at a house for a few minutes, they got a call, they're out of state, out of county or whatever, again, that's where you bring the drug dog in, let them do a sniff. They get a hit, then, I mean, you could, again, that's not something that's going to solve the issue, but it's the environment. Again, you hear that happening 5, 6, 7 times, maybe they're not going to want to drive down here anymore.
Absolutely.
They keep getting them. Again, it's not that we're going to catch every single one, but that fear element will be there now that, you know, these people are taking this seriously and they're coming after us, so let's go find somewhere else. And again, they might leave, they might go to another city, and that city will start to experience the same issues, but we can only deal with what we have here, so.
Well, and in talking to the sheriff candidates, you know, you had mentioned about sometimes the people have quit calling the police. They have indicated they need those calls because when they go into a case with the judge, all of those calls are more evidence to get the judge. So while they may not see something working, those calls that they are making are vital when that case is being determined that, hey, this is a community who's stepping up and saying, this person's a problem, not just the police. And so, you know, the sheriff candidates have made that point. But they need those calls.
That's why we were looking in there for a little bit to do a neighborhood watch program. That way they're not calling the police department and the phone's logged and everything. We need like an anonymous tip line.
Gotcha.
That way people don't feel like, oh, I'm on call, they're going to have my number, they're going to have my information. Yeah. I don't want them to know that I called. But if we had a third-party source that was all volunteer, and we had a neighborhood watch like that patrolled and went around and had like their own little organization that was helped out by the city, you know, they could be the anonymous tip line that people are calling, and then they can report that all the calls they get to the police department.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
You know, I think that's one of the bigger issues is that, like, I've even heard that, and that's so, people shouldn't be afraid of that first off, but I've heard that from individuals here in the city, like, oh, that house down there, I know they're selling drugs, but I'm just too afraid to call, I don't want them coming after me, I live alone. It's like, this is your home, and you're saying that you're afraid to be in your own home is what you're telling me. Yeah. And that's a shame. They shouldn't be afraid. They shouldn't be afraid to call the cops, and I'm so sick that we're accommodating these people when we do that. And when you start to, appeasement doesn't work for criminals. It just doesn't. So we can't appease them. If you see an issue, you have to call. Yeah. And I think the issue that they're having is that they don't want to call the police department. So I think it would be nicer to have a little bit more of a non-formal avenue for them to go and be a part of it and help and patrol for needles, looking for needles or whatever, you know. Yeah. Anonymous tip lines, all that kind of stuff. But that's something I think we have to get the community engaged because right now they don't have faith in us. And I don't blame them. I mean, like I said, I've lived here my whole life. I haven't seen the improvements. So, I mean, again, it's not the police department's fault. They're doing the best they can with what they have, but we need to make sure that we're doing our part too, as a city. Okay. They're doing their part. We need to do our part.
You had mentioned a couple times about you know, utilities, and we touch upon that. On the revenue can only be spent on those. But looking at you had talked about a city managing its general fund account. Where does the revenue come from for the general fund? What kind of things do you see possibly might need to be done in the next term or 2 terms to be able to give the police officers a raise where you have a better retention and those kind of things, which comes out of the general fund?
Well, the general fund's made up of a few different things. It's mainly made up of our property tax for the city, and then we have our insurance premium tax that everyone pays on their insurance, whether they realize it or not. Anyone that's got an insurance policy here in the city, they pay a little bit more that the insurance company takes, and they pay us that. So that's our main 2 sources. We also get small grants like our road aid, LGEA funds, stuff like that from the state. What was the second part of the question? Sorry.
Well, just where does the general fund? Where should the revenue come from in the future?
Well, it comes from property. I mean, it's always going to come from where it's coming from now. I mean, we can open up other avenues of, you know, bringing in money, but it's just another tax. So if you're not focusing on your insurance premium and your property tax, it's just another hidden tax. Okay. So it's those two things. The best way to increase your property tax is two ways: you either increase the rate or you increase the value of the community, and then that'll naturally increase the value of the properties, which will bring in more revenue. Which is which is why our general fund was depleted so much after the flood, because all the property values plummeted, and that affects your tax rate. Well, not your tax rate, but the revenue you bring in from that rate. So if, you know, if you have $1 million home, gets there with the flood, now it's only worth $500,000, and we just cut your property tax in half on that place.
Well, the subway building's a great example. You have Hardee's, you have subway working out of that building. It's a lot. Its property value is going to be a lot more with inventory and those kind of things rather than an empty building sitting there.
Exactly. And again, I think businesses will solve a lot of that. You know, one of the things I pushed for when I got on council was to change our ABC sales times for alcohol sales in the city. It used to be you weren't allowed to sell after 12. And that hurt our businesses down here. I mean, ours, it hurt Time Out, it hurt Cold Spot, because on Friday and Saturday nights when people want to go out and stay out a little bit late and enjoy themselves, they don't come to the city of Falmouth, they go up north. Or they go down south to Cynthiana or Augusta or Lexington or wherever. So I got that changed. Well, but that was one of the things I pushed for, and council eventually changed, is to allow the businesses to stay open until I think it's 2:30 now. So again, that's been bringing a lot of extra revenue through our ABC sales tax. So I mean, that was a small change where we didn't have to change the rate. We didn't have to do anything other than allow them to do more business, and it increased our ABC fund. And again, that goes directly to the police department. So there's a lot of little things like that where we just need to get out of the people's way, let them create the money, let them create the revenue and the businesses, and then we can just sit back and collect the taxes, and the property tax increases.
So because I want to make sure that's clear what you're saying there. Smoke and Pig now is selling 2 hours later, on Friday and Saturdays.
Plus the increase in business, because on Friday and Saturday nights before we changed that, it started to die out around 10:30 because everyone's like, oh, they're closing here in a couple hours, and let's go up north. So now we're staying open and busy till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes. And we haven't. I mean, a lot of people, when we first brought that up to change that, they're like, oh, you know, we're gonna have more crimes and, you know, DUIs and stuff. We haven't seen that.
Yeah, but
people aren't going to be doing anything. They're not change their behavior just because the law changed.
Is the city benefiting in tax revenue from the increased sales?
Well, we have an ABC sales tax.
Okay.
So if you sell more alcohol in the city, I mean, again, a lot of people, I don't even drink. I'm not a drinker. I'm a part owner of a tavern, and I don't drink. So I've seen what it does to people. You know, my stepfather, he experienced alcoholism. You know, I would just never want to go down that road. Just stay away from it. Yeah. So get clear head. So. But
increasing restaurants that are selling those items, that kind of stuff,
and again, that
creates more revenue for the city through an ABC tax.
And again, we didn't increase the tax rate for the ABC. We did nothing. We just allowed them to operate more on their terms and be open longer. And again, that was a government restriction that we had in place for so many years that was preventing businesses and growth like that. For what reason? I don't know.
Okay. Any other?
There's a lot of little things like that down here that prevent businesses.
That's my question. I was getting ready to ask that question. What are those little things that need to be gone?
Well, I mean, it's
that the city can manage. Because we've talked about working with the
insurance premium tax. I think we should be able to do some type of an incentive there for new businesses, not existing. Okay. So that way, when new businesses come in, that way it's not affecting our fund. But moving forward, they'll get a cheaper rate for so many years just to start here to help out. So that's something we can adjust for businesses. Again, working with the state is a big issue as far as, you know, planning and zoning and state building code down here. We need to work with them and let them know that we are unique. You know, some of these buildings down here that were built in the late 1800s, early 1900s, that they're wanting up to 2018 building code. It's just not going to happen. Especially when they don't let you do it yourself. It's one thing for them to say, yeah, fix it up, and if it passes code, you know, we'll send an inspector in. If he says it's safe for occupancy, you're good. You know, that's something they could do that would still make sure that it's safe, that would allow the people to do their own work. So that's something again, as a mayor, I'll have a lot more influence, you know, with the state legislators as far as trying some of these things out and letting us do what we want. But other than the incentives, I mean, it's showing them that we're business friendly, and we have to show them that we're ready to do what we can. We'll come to the table and do what we have to get businesses down here. Because as many people think that's not going to help, it will. Those jobs will help, you know, that are in the city, although they might not pay as well as the other cities in these bigger areas, but they're closer. So you're saving money on time as far as having to leave the county every day. I think when the University of Kentucky came in, they did a big survey of our community as far as businesses go. I think when they did, there was 65% of the people leave our county to go to work every day. And that just amazes me. We need more jobs here.
But that's always been our county. I mean,
somebody not always.
Yeah, I think it has been, because going back to my family, my mom always worked at a bank in Cincinnati or Newport, always, until she retired from.
If she knew she could work for a bank down here making a similar amount, she probably would. No,
I don't know.
People leave for the increase in pay. They go out of county because it's worth it to go out of county and work because they pay more.
Yeah.
We pay less down here, so we need to start creating an environment that can pay more. For instance, like the trash. Why hold on to
That's
it
true.
just so we can pay our employees $11 an hour when we can let Rumpke do it when they can hire more people at 18.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, that might not be what's best for our trash fund or our utility fund at the moment, but it's what's best for the community as far as job growth.
Well, yeah, absolutely, you want to create job growth, but I think there's a realistic point too that you have to realize. We're never going to be Toyota. We're never going to have Toyota. We're never going to have GE. We just don't have the roads right now that allow the easy access for transportation for those places like a GE, like a Toyota, who needs very, very close to the interstate.
Maybe not Toyota, but there's other stuff. There's hemp farms. There's hemp.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Yeah.
Again, it's not just one big company coming in that's going to save us. It's a bunch of little ones. Mm-hmm. It's the mom and pops. 90% of new job growth in business is from small businesses, like new startups.
Yeah.
So when they make up such a large percentage of jobs and job growth, that's who we need to focus on. One big company could turn this town around. If we got a Toyota in here, it would turn all this around. But again, it goes back to the economic development cabinet on why we don't have our property listed on there. Even if a company wanted to come to Pendleton County and build a plant like that, they don't even know where to start because we're not even listed with them.
That's true, but we also have to realize too that we have a great company that is a worldwide company in hammer strength here.
Oh, absolutely.
But
they're not in the city limits, so the city doesn't really benefit
that's
from
true,
other than jobs.
Yeah.
The jobs obviously would benefit, but again, we need someone in our industrial park. We need them in the city limits. Otherwise, they'll benefit the county, which does benefit us. All boats rise at the tide.
Yeah.
But as far as what's best for the city, we need to have job growth here and development here because that's going to increase values for everyone.
Yeah. As far as back to when I was growing up, except for the school, and I had friends whose parents were teachers and those kind of things. Golly, it'd be hard pressed for me to pick out a friend that I grew up with whose parents did work outside the county.
Right.
I mean,